Today we continue our devotion on building blocks to better relationships as we examine several areas in our marriages or relationships where we might experience tension in those areas. There's three that I want to talk about. Number one is when someone's needs aren't being met. Number two is when we don't forgive someone because of past hurts and mistakes made. And number three, when your expectations are different than your spouse's. If you've ever experienced tension in your marriage or where you work or in your family or with your friends, there's one thing that I have discovered, and that is couples and people just feel powerless when it comes to seeing something change in a positive way in any of those areas that I mentioned before, like needs being met, forgiveness of past hurts and mistakes made, and expectations different than that of your spouse. I've heard a couple say, I want my marriage to become better, but it doesn't seem like that will ever change. I just don't have the power or the ability to see anything happen, I guess. It's a lot of what people say at times. But I have some great news for all of you today. Whether you're married or not, or you're just listening to me during this Devo moment, and that's the same power that raised Christ from the dead, is the same power that wants to help our marriages and our lives for the better. But how can God help your marriage or your life? Because God's power is greater than anything to transform your marriage, because His power can assist you to meet the needs of your spouse when you don't have the power to do that. Think about it, friends. We all have basic needs in a marriage, whether it is quality time with a loved one, receiving gifts from your significant other, or maybe it's just experiencing physical touch with your spouse. We all have needs. Hearing words about encouragement from your mate, those are important. Or having your spouse love you through acts of service. We all love those things. But if there's one thing that we all have in common today, and is that if you're a man, you have needs. And if you're a woman, you have needs. We all have needs, and that is the need to be loved, valued, and belong to someone or something. The husband must fulfill his duty to his wife, the Bible says in 1 Corinthians 7:3, and likewise also the wife to her husband. Here's the one thing about meeting your spouse's needs. It is a skill that has to be learned. It doesn't come easy at times. And remember, just because you're married doesn't mean you know how to meet the needs of your spouse either. Most marriage problems would be solved if we just apply what God said in Philippians 2:4 in our relationships. It says this, do not merely look at our own personal interests, but also for the interest of others. The problem in life and marriage is that we're selfish. We want someone to serve our needs and not theirs. It's kind of like when Teresa would ask me, are all the doors locked in the house as soon as I laid my head on the pillow? When she would ask that question, I have to make a decision to either make her feel secure and make sure all the doors are locked, or stay in bed because I'm tired and I'm all snuggled up in the sheets and I don't want to move because I'm sleepy. I have to make a choice. But when we get married, the focus definitely shifts from me to we. But before you get married, the focus is always on us as the individual and whatever pleases me. Here's what happens once we date, we get engaged, and eventually get married. We change the focus from what do you need to, hey, you get it yourself. So my question is, what happened? How do we go from what do you need to, hey, you get it yourself? Well, we'll find out more about that on Tuesday, August 4th, as we continue our devotional on building better marriages and relationships. See you next week. Have a great weekend. Love you. And we're praying for you as always. God bless.